So here I am and all set to talk about the fuel price hike. The country is outraged today over the continuous increase in price hike that is happening over the past 8 days. In fact, in a row, there has been a revision in prices of petrol and diesel. And in a span of 8 days, actually, if you look at Mumbai, it has been an increase of 2 rupees approximately to around 84.6 as of today. That's the price of petrol in Mumbai. Increase of over 2 rupees within a span of 8 days, and similar increase in the prices of diesel as well. So what this means to the consumer, we all know. The fact is that this is going to cost our pockets heavily when it comes to our daily commute, and it's going to have a cascading impact on the other commodities that we purchase because the transportation cost of so many commodities will go up with this. So the question is, why is this happening and how do we arrest this upsurge? What can the government do? Why isn't the government doing what it can do? All those questions arise. So let's quickly look at the two sides. If we look at the arguments given against the government, the primary issue here is, why hasn't the government got petrol and diesel under the ambit of GST? Remember, there is a GST council which has decided the number of commodities come under what tax slab. There are 5 tax slabs there. Petrol and diesel have been kept out of that, which means that the government can, at its own will and wisdom, tinker with the revenue model of petroleum products. That is part of the problem. So there is no fixed tax rate. It keeps changing. Right now, if we look at the price, the tax component of the petrol and diesel price is about 50%, which means that in a price of 80 rupees, practically about 40 rupees is what you are paying simply as taxes to the government. Now, why is this happening? That's because there is an excise duty. There are state taxes also levied on it. There is VAT and the other duties levied by state governments as well, which compounds the price to this extent. So the argument against the government is, first, like I said, it has not brought petrol and diesel under GST. It is not doing anything to reduce the excise duty, which it easily can. Now, remember what happened, in 2014 and 15 when the crude oil prices came down. At that time, when Modi government took over, it did not reduce the benefit of that. It did not transfer the benefit of reduced global crude oil prices to the consumers in India. What it did was it jacked up the excise duty, keeping prices of petrol, diesel more or less the same. And the reason for doing that at that time, according to the government, is to address the fiscal deficit. So when the crude oil prices were down, the government did not transfer the benefit to the consumer. Now the crude oil prices are high. It has been on the rise. The global Brent crude oil price has reached almost $80 per barrel. Bad news, of course. But then the government is of course now transferring the burden to the consumer rather than taking some of it on its own. So that is the reason why that is the reason why there is such a outcry now to reduce the excise duty, which the government is not doing. So these are the issues against the government. And remember the other excuse that the government keeps citing. In fact, Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has been confronted by the media on many occasions, and he says that the states should reduce VAT and the other duties that are levied on petrol and diesel. But remember, 20 out of the 29 states in India are under BJP rule. So why isn't the ruling party issuing a whip to all the states to reduce the VAT, to somehow bring some respite to the consumer and not increase the prices to this extent? Is there a global perspective to it? Yes, there is. Because remember, the demand for crude, the demand for oil has increased substantially. In fact, in the continent of Asia itself, apparently the cost of crude oil demand has reached $1 trillion, which is apparently double of what the demand was in 2015-16. So there is a very huge spurt in the demand for crude oil. That has, of course, sparked off a lot of other calculations, because of which the crude oil prices have gone up. And recent factors, a couple of recent factors. One, of course, that the international crude prices have seen a sharp spike after US pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal. So those global politics have also had its impact. Secondly, the reduced production of oil by OPEC countries and by Russia, the falling production in Venezuela. These are the two global factors which have had its impact. It has also contributed to the surge, and we are now in a dynamic fuel pricing system since last year. So, what do we do? So basically, the central government, the petroleum ministry, is pleading helplessness over it, citing global factors. But the fact is, it does have the option of reducing excise duty even now. Is it going to do that? Because really, the prices across the country, in all the major cities, in petrol and diesel in particular, have reached an all-time high.